Hi, this is Irisheyes True Crime.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Irisheyes True Crime for Spooky Season 2023. This time of the year has many celebrations, from ancient celebrations to more commercialized celebrations and also religious celebrations. We go from the ancient Samhain festival, which was a huge celebration where friends and family gathered to mark the end of the harvest with bonfires, feasting, storytelling and music. A time to honour the family ancestors and those that have passed. These spirits were honoured and invited into the family home while the harmful spirits were kept away. Folks wore costumes and masked themselves as harmful spirits to avoid any harm. In Celtic Ireland, about 2,000 years ago, Samhain was the division of the year between the lighter half, the summer, and the darker half, the winter. At Samhain, the division between this world and the other world was at its thinnest, allowing spirits to pass through. Root vegetables such as turnips were carved out with scary faces and candles placed inside. This given the name jack-o'-lantern. Christianity incorporated the honouring of the dead into the Christian calendar, with All Saints' Day on November the 1st, which is All Hallows, followed by All Souls' Day on November the 2nd. The wearing of costumes and masks to ward off harmful spirits survived as Halloween customs. The Irish emigrated to America in great numbers during the 19th century, especially around the time of the famine in Ireland during the 1840s. The Irish carried their Halloween traditions to America, where today it is one of the major holidays of the year. Through time, other traditions have blended into Halloween. For example, the American harvest time tradition of carving pumpkins. Also around this time, we have the Diwali festival, which is India's biggest and most important holiday of the year. It's a festival of lights that celebrates the triumph of light over darkness, good over evil, and the human ability to overcome. One of the most recognised now is Halloween, where children go from house to house dressed in whatever costumes they want and look for candy from their neighbours. A great celebration, a happy time for children. For some, including myself, it's a time for watching spooky things and getting all cozied up with the winter coming in and fires lit, and time to watch those scary movies that are going to give you a big fright. So let's look at some of the traditions between the ancient and the new.
This is an ancient story of fire, about accessing other worlds. If a dark spark ignites the pyre, we may see beyond our thresholds. It's a mystical, a cyclical ending of the Celtic New Year, a witching our ritual of water, earth, air and fire. Where old phantom shapeshifter queens are flanked by fiery ravens, on an earthly scene to be seen, a thinning of the veil, a breach of the heavens. We sense the cold drawn to our bones when autumnal leaves have fallen. So we gather together, leave our homes to see what ghosts and ghouls are coming. Where a mischievous Far Jarrig will be lit by a Celtic knot, riding on the back of a stag like a nightmare you forgot. But the Boyne flows strong with courage, and Goddess Bowen inspires light. From her salmon we get knowledge, and a hazel tree gave new insight. Druids gather to ward off evil. Atop a ring fort on the Hill of Ward, these tales are ancestral, primeval, and told still by every bard. The puka is a changeling spirit with lagomorphic golden eyes, who knows your very darkest secret, and with good and bad takes no sides. We all must face the dark sometimes and live in the liminal space. When on October dusk and dawn rhymes, the earthly rhythm changes pace. Where no spirit can be vanquished, it's a supernatural sight. Now all but one flame is extinguished on Iha Hewan, our darkest night.
All Saints' Day is a solemn holy day of the Catholic Church, celebrated annually on November 1st. The day is dedicated to the saints of the Church, that is, all those who have attained heaven. It should not be confused with All Souls' Day, which is observed on November 2nd and is dedicated to those who have died and not yet reached heaven. Although millions, or perhaps even billions of people may already be saints, All Saints' Day observances tend to focus on the known saints, that is, those recognized in the canon of the saints by the Catholic Church. Generally, All Saints' Day is a Catholic holy day of obligation, meaning all Catholics are required to attend Mass on that day, unless they have an excellent excuse, such as serious illness. Celebrations and customs vary around the world. In the United States, children go out trick-or-treating for candy the night before, while Catholics attend Mass the following day. In Spain, Mexico, and Portugal, offerings are often left on the graves for the dead. Across Western Europe, people visit graves and leave offerings of flowers, and in Eastern Europe they light candles on graves at night. In the Philippines, families paint and repair graves of their loved ones. These celebrations often blur the distinction between All Saints' Day, which is dedicated to those who are in heaven, and All Souls' Day, which is dedicated for all who have died. In Mexico, the Day of the Dead holy days extend from October 31st through November 2nd. This holiday has spread in popularity into the United States and across Latin America. It's generally celebrated from October 31st through November 2nd, and it coincides with the American Halloween holiday and the Catholic holy days. However, it's important to remember these basic facts. Halloween is a secular holiday that comes the night before All Saints' Day. All Saints' Day is on November 1st, and it is a holy day of obligation. And All Souls' Day is on November 2nd, and it is not a holy day of obligation.
When it comes to Irish folk tradition, I think it's fair to say that one of the most iconic creatures that springs to mind is the Banshee. The core elements and descriptions have remained pretty much unchanged throughout time, and you would be hard pressed to find any child or adult the length and breadth of Ireland that hasn't heard of her, and ask any old timer and you are almost guaranteed to be regaled with a story of personal encounter, or at the very least knowledge of someone they know of having had an encounter with the Banshee of the other world. The term Banshee, a term that is in use throughout Ireland in both urban and rural areas, and has been in common usage since around the 17th century, but accounts of the supernatural death messenger go further back. Some see her as the otherworldly woman, or woman of the mounds, or some people see her as the fairy woman. The Irish Banshee is a supernatural being in Irish folklore who is said to foretell death with a mournful wail. The Banshee, a female spirit, appears in lament to announce the forthcoming death of a family member. The Banshee is said to roam the Irish countryside, hovering just above the ground like a vapour, gliding over bogs, passing Stingy Jack and the Doulahan and other Irish spirits in the night. There is some unknowable magnetism pulling the Banshee towards that house in the distance, towards her target. She clatters against the shutters, peers through the window, and she screams, and her scream twists and morphs into a nasally, high-pitched dirge, punctured by bursts of weeping. Not all banshees are to be feared. Many believe that every Irish family has its own banshee, and these spirits watch over the family members in life and death. Some say that the banshee ensures that the deceased passes safely to the other side. Many believe these banshees appear as beautiful women, singing a mournful song filled with love and concern for their families. Ancient Irish folklore claimed that the Banshee could only wail for 5 prominent Irish family names, the O'Neills, O'Connors, O'Briens, Kavanaghs and O'Grady's. Although many believe that there's a lot more names to add to that list. I have my own encounter to tell. When I was younger, about 7 years old, I woke up one night and there was only a slight bit of light coming in through the open door. And I felt like something was waking me up. And I could see a cat in the room. And I reached out to grab the cat, to rub it down, because I loved animals. I was always taking home stray animals or injured animals, and although my mother was always going mad at me for bringing home so many animals, but I was always so attached to animals. But this night in particular, I woke up and, as I say, I saw a cat. It was like a black cat in the room. And I reached out to try rub it down. But I couldn't get a hold of the cat and it disappeared. But that happened so fast. And I could hear outside in my backyard, I could hear the wails as what I thought was a banshee. It was screeching and crying. Like it really sounded like crying. Like mournful cries. But the very next morning, I found out that my cousin, who was around the same age as me, had died of a brain tumour. We used to play together because we were so close in age. And the reason why I know what age we were is because she was buried in her communion dress. Because she hadn't been able to make her communion with her friends in her school. But as I say, I know what age we were because we were both close in age and we really loved playing together when her family came to visit mine or we went to visit them. And I had an older brother and sister and which also had cousins the same age. And I missed her terribly when she passed. That's why I don't believe that the Banshee is a harmful spirit. I believe she shows her mourning, her sorrowful mourning of the death of a loved one. And I believe she helped her spirit pass over to the other side. The story of Red Mary, Marie Rua O'Brien. Many ghostly tales have emanated from the Emerald Isle over the years, but few have captivated the public more than the grisly details about Red Mary, who resided in Leemana Castle in the Burren in County Clare. The building, which consists of 5-storey 15th century tower house and a 17th century mansion, now lies in ruins. And given its isolated setting, it's no surprise that spooky stories have been told about terrible things that have happened within the walls and beyond. Today, with the castle reduced to a shell and a shadow of its former self, it may not immediately catch the eye of passers-by, but if you delve a little deeper, you'll find that it has a horrifically haunting past and was home to one of Ireland's most infamous figures. In the 1600s, it was owned by Conor O'Brien, who lived there with his wife Mary McMahon. The aforementioned Marie Rua Red Mary, who was given that name due to her flaming red hair and quite possibly her fiery temperament. Mary's first husband, Daniel O'Neillan, died at a young age, leaving his estate to his wife. She married Conor O'Brien in 1639, and her inheritance paid for Limanagh Castle to be transformed with the addition of a striking 4-storey mansion. The property may have looked beautiful on the outside, but the stunning facade belied the horrible deeds that happened within. O'Brien met a violent end in 1651 when he was wounded by a Cromwellian soldier, and the dying man was brought back to Limanagh Castle. Rumour has it that Callous Mary opened a window and shouted, "What do I want with dead men here?" After her husband's death, Mary quickly set about finding a replacement, offering to marry any Cromwellian officer in an effort to retain her estate. She soon wed Captain John Cooper, who gained great wealth with the marriage, and he either led a long and healthy life or soon met a grisly end, depending on who you wish to believe. There are those that maintain that Cooper lived to a ripe old age, while local folklore and popular belief paints an entirely different picture. Some suggest he died after being kicked in the stomach by Mary, while others say he was pushed to his death from a 3rd-storey window after a heated argument with his new bride. According to legend, Mary may have had as many as 25 husbands, that she would divorce after a year and a day, with a strong suggestion that many came to a more sinister end. She is also said to have been particularly cruel to her employees, hanging male workers that annoyed her by the neck from the castle tower, while female servants were sliced and hung by their hair. Another widely told tale about Red Mary was that she kept a stallion in her stable and challenged visitors to ride it, and the untamed beast would run wild towards the cliffs of Moher, where it would stop suddenly, flinging its victims over the edge to their death. That said, the fact that Limanagh translates to her sleep would suggest that that particular story may have been more fable than fact. Even if the amount of husbands she is said to have had is exaggerated, and whether the stories about her being responsible for their deaths is truth or hearsay, the one thing that is certain is that she made a number of enemies during her life, and they eventually exacted gruesome revenge. Mary was captured by her bitter foes, shackled and sealed in a hollow tree, where she was left to starve to death. There are different opinions over whether the tree was on the grounds of Limanagh Castle or at an isolated spot known as the Druid's Altar. A red-haired ghost has been seen at both locations, accompanied by her cackling evil laughter and the blood-curdling screams of her victims. Red Mary's son, Donna, was the last of the O'Briens to live at Limanagh Castle, before moving the family seat to Drumlin Castle in 1689, and the Barbican gateways from the estate later followed, as it was relocated under the instructions of Lucius William O'Brien. There were other residents in Limanagh Castle after that, but it eventually fell into ruin, and by the end of the 18th century it was derelict. Limanagh may have been forgotten about and allowed to gasp its final breath in isolation, similar to its most notorious resident. But the legend of Red Mary and her howling ghost will live on and be whispered about for all eternity. So I'm going to do a small tarot card reading on Nicola Bulley. Just for a reference here, there's 2 cameras videoing it. This is the main one, which is looking down. And then there's another camera, which I'll switch over to show you the 3 stands where I'll be laying the cards out, so as you'll be able to have a closer look. In the centre of the table, it's just something I like to use. My husband helped me make it. It's just referencing something ancient, like the pyramid, and the veil being at its thinnest, and being able to see through the veil and go under the veil. It's just something I like to use with my tarot card. Spirit guides, if you could help me, and through Nicola, to allow me pick 3 cards for Nicola's story of her past, present, of when she died, and the future of her story. I'll just split the cards and pick the 3 cards then from the top. So here for Nicola's past, before she died, we have the Tower. And the Tower represents sudden change or upheaval. And most of the cards in the tarot imply gradual change. But the Tower is a symbol of chaos and can sometimes indicate catastrophic change. The Tower shows a quite chaotic scene. A tall tower upon a mountaintop, and it's struck by lightning and catches fire. And 2 people have jumped from the tower. The 22 flames in the sky represent the 12 zodiac signs and the 10 point of the tree of life, reminding us that there is always divine intervention even in times of chaos. So Nicola was struggling with something was going on, but she was trying to get on with life and move on, and she was trying to better things for herself. But something was holding her back from it and kept putting her down. Like, you don't just turn to alcohol for no reason. Something obviously was going on in her life that she was trying to cope with. So for the present, around the time that Nicola had passed away, we have the 10 of Wands. And the 10 is a sign of burden and responsibility and being dependent on. Even though it can be a good thing, we have to beware of being overworked or overburdened. And as you can see by the picture, it's like she was carrying a heavy load and trying to organise things and keep everything together. And it's not like there's anyone else in the picture helping her out with this situation. It's like she has everything on her shoulders. We know her partner's businesses weren't doing that great, so it could have been a stressful time for her, and she felt like she was carrying a big burden on her shoulders. So, for the future of Nicola's story and how she feels, we have the Six of Pentacles. And the six is a symbol of transition. It encourages reflection on past turmoil and letting go of it and moving forward towards a new future. So I think Nicola has accepted that she has passed and she's ready for her soul to transition to the next level. Spirit team, could you help me pick out 3 cards to find out what happened to Nicola Bully? So looking at what happened to Nicola, in the first card here we have the Four of Cups. And the Four of Cups is a sign of conservation. And it indicates substantial material possession and may reveal protective tendencies. So looking at Nicola, I don't think she was that kind. So I'm wondering, is this about her other half? That he liked material things and was possessive over them and had a protective tendency over all these possessions. Like in the picture here, you see the 4th cup being given, and it's like they're happy the more material things is gathering up, if you know what I mean. And the person is just sitting there and taking everything, but not doing anything themselves to gain these material things. Next, we have the Death card. Now, although the Death card doesn't always mean a death happening, like sometimes it's just, the end of something and the beginning of something new. But here, the Death card shows a skeleton clad in black armour on top of a white horse. And 3 people beg to be spared by death, but death is inevitable. Death in this instance should not be literally taken as the end of a life. It signifies the end of a cycle and beginning of a new one. It indicates transformation of the individual to a new state of being. But in this case with Nicola, it possibly does mean the death. With the next card, we have the High Priestess. The mysterious High Priestess is the symbol of intuition, the subconscious, and spiritual enlightenment. She is a divine feminine ruler and is the gatekeeper between the physical and the spiritual worlds. The letter on the pillars represent Hebrew words. B stands for Boaz. He is strong, and the J stands for Yahim. God establishes. The High Priestess encourages us to look inward for answers and use intuition. Here, for me, this stands for, in Nicola's case, that she's asking us to look inwards and go with our gut. That what happened to Nicola is not right. And wants us to use our own intuition to help in her case. So I'm going with a new set of cards now. This time it's the Murder Mystery set. Spirit Team, could you help me pick out 3 cards to help us understand more what happened to Nicola? So the first card from the Murder Mystery Oracles is I. It says, in the future, the killer may admit to their guilt. So, as we believe that Nicola was killed, and we can only hope that the person does actually come forward. So the second card that came out in the Murder Mystery Oracle, money may be involved. So there may be money involved in Nicola's death. And the third card is A. A closer observation of the victim's living space may provide clues. That's interesting. So I'm going to leave it there for the tarot cards. I was hoping to do some pendulum work, but I'm kind of running out of time now with doing this spooky video. And as I say, I won't be able to fit that in as well because I can't have the video too long. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed spooky season with me for 2023. I'm going to cuddle up now and watch scary movies for the evening. Thank you for watching. Bye for now. Love, Irish Eyes.